Welcome back to the No Destination podcast, the story behind the songs. This is episode 10, Gilded Age, off of the record Late Bloomer in a Wallflower Suit. Every record needs a benediction, a final word, a meditation, a prayer, if you will, even. And maybe that's too big or heavy of a thing to put on one song. But in a way, I think Gilded Age accomplishes that for this group of songs. That's my version of that. It's a song about memory, loss, forgiveness, and the strange dignity of writing it all down somehow. This song was recorded on the third session, and that was out of the four main tracking sessions focused from my standpoint. It was the first session without Michael. I had a lot of songs that were close to being finished that really made the last batch, a really strong batch, like Long Way Around, High and Lonesome, Worst of Me, Dark Water. Those songs were like right there, but I was still kind of working on the ideas or working on the last part. The third tracking session was Laughing Heart, Something in the Darkness, and Gilded Age, which those three songs shared nothing in common thematically, and they definitely felt like opposites. But Gilded Age had all this space sonically that was really interesting to me. It was one that I wrote on the Baritone guitar. That guitar is like magic. Carlos is a wizard. That guitar has brought me a lot of songs in particular. And that riff, and I don't write riffs. I'm not a riff guy. I wish I did. I'd probably be way better off musically if I could write some really cool riffs. Something terrible, Day Tripper, just because it feels good, even if the song doesn't really call for it. So riffs, while they don't come often, this one came fully formed the way that it's heard on the record. And I didn't want it to be a guitar song with a riff. Andy and I think Andrew actually both kind of played keyboard parts, organ, and just tried to put that on other instrumentation so it had a different kind of space. Because the riff in itself can sound a little bit progressive if played a certain way, and I didn't really want to go that direction. I really wanted to lean into the space and the tension and how that hangs over the song. And Andy got that right away. This song addresses some similar topics to other songs, and that's why it feels like a benediction or like a prayer. It's more of a meditative look at where I was making this record. The first verse, I was born with sad eyes, that's actually a line I stole from a song that I had a long time ago. Good artist, great artist steal. And if more mediocre, then you just steal from yourself. I used to have this song called The Art of Loneliness, which fill in the blanks on what that may have sounded like 20-year-old Dylan. But the first line of it was, I was born with sad eyes. So I brought it back, and that's the first line of the song. I was born with sad eyes, chasing my father's ghost. My mother was born near the ocean. I hold some memories so close. It's never something that goes away, just your relationship with it changes. We've talked about that before in High and Lonesome, for example, and what that can feel like to either try to be the person that your dad was or to be the person that he wasn't, and what that weight feels like in either direction. But for me, I spent most of my life trying to be the man he wasn't. And when you get more space from the actual passing, at least for me, I lose sight of all the day-to-day stuff that used to really frustrate me, or the things that I held as shortcomings of my father. And when time goes by, you remember you love somebody. They're your dad, they're your mom, or whatever. And in a way, the relationship that I had with my dad is one that never existed. I never really had a relationship with my dad. I never really spent a ton of time with him. And my memories of him stop at a very young age, just because I never saw him after I was 15. Those memories are very finite, and they mean different things now, which is fine. But this like duality of my mother was born near the ocean, I hold some memories so close. My mom if you think I'm cool, that's probably because my mom's pretty cool. And our relationship's always been the exact opposite. And she had to play both of those roles at times because my dad wasn't around. And I'm very fortunate to have her in my life. And again, it was the exact opposite. Processing the grief, it's been more thinking about a relationship I never had and how that has informed me as a person, how that has informed me as a parent, how that has informed what I want to get out of life. It's been very informative, but I've also had a really great parent on the other side, so it's not all bad. But the memories I have with my mom are great. The duality in that first verse is just memory. It's more these memories of stories. Again, like Pulaski was about Nana Jane. And so everyone has people that raise you. I think it's common to have completely different experiences with different parents. And that's what I had. The relationship I had with my mom was great. And there's a lot of really positive memories associated with that. Family. She has a very large family. So growing up with that background versus my dad, it was a lot more fractured. And he was like the black sheep of the family. Not only was his family much smaller, but he was a weirdo, even in his own family. So it was just, even hanging out with some of them and going to visit was a much different experience than, say, visiting with like my mom's side of the family. And so that's the duality in the first verse, is bringing into that world. And I feel like you might at this point be thinking, Dylan, it would have just been cheaper to go to therapy than to write an album, perform the album, and then make a podcast about said album. How I was explaining how your relationship changes with grief, so do your memories, and they change over time. And I think that for me, this idea about being born with sad eyes and chasing my father's ghost it's to give you an indication that I see what was happening to me, see it through a different lens with more perspective, and yes, a little bit of therapy along the way, which I highly encourage, by the way. If you ever need an advocate to listen to all your stories, and you don't want to write an album worth of songs, that is definitely an admirable way to process your life. You heard it here first if you haven't heard it a bunch of times. While the first verse is very personal, the second verse is about myself and the relationship I have in my own experience with myself as an imperfect person. But the second verse is, I don't remember changing. The voice inside sounds the same. I can never be unbroken, letting those wildflowers go. And I remember something my grandfather, my mom's father, told me about aging. He said, the weird thing is, like, in my head, I don't feel old, but my body tells me otherwise. And it's that idea that the voice inside your head, the narrator, or that internal dialogue, it always sounds the same, right? But I know I'm changing. I know I'm getting older, hopefully wiser. You look back on periods of your life and you were so busy living or experiencing life that you don't really see how much you've changed until you take a step back. And from that period where I put out Places in Between, that EP in 2010, to Outsiders with Brilliant Mistakes, I changed a whole lot. And I had also changed a lot from just the Outsiders record to Late Bloomer and A Wallflower Suit. But for me, there's like, at times there's this delay reaction where you almost need a little distance between you and that thing for you to really be able to notice just how much you've changed or how you've changed. But this idea that even though you can change, that I can never be unbroken. Because, the things that happen in your life, traumatic, wonderful moments, triumphant moments, moments of defeat, they stay with you in some way. And that's really what I'm trying to wrestle with, is that in this song, I know that my dad dying is something that I'll never really get over. My relationship with it becomes different over time, is the best way to say it. And so whether it's that or a failed marriage or anything, music career issues or whatever, that's always going to be a part of my story. But this next line, letting those wildflowers go, is this acknowledgement where, yeah, those things do happen. You choose the parts of you that you want to make stronger. And hopefully, when the light shines through those broken pieces, it's beautiful to you. Going through things, good or bad in life, if you don't learn from them or appreciate them, what good are they? To have gratitude for the moments that are wonderful, even if they're simple. Just like the moments that weren't great. If you didn't learn from them and you're not grateful for maybe how that changed you as a person, or how you learned from them and changed your course, then I think you're just bound to repeat some of those things, right? This song's real heavy, and that's why it's a little bit of a benediction. It's more of a prayer. It's the slowest song on the record. It's the most space. And to me, it feels like a breath at the very end of the record, where it's just like, this is where I am. So going to the chorus, I don't want to go back. Release me unto this page. Forgive this easy heart in my gilded age. You probably know what gilded age means. Time of prosperity, but there's something rotten underneath that. That's what it could feel like to me to be a person. So if things are going well professionally, but you lose a parent, or things are going great personally, but you lose your job, right? And it's like this, it's just this thing that we all wrestle with, where to be high functioning or functioning in the world, not that you have to put on a facade, but you have to get through it. You have to get to the other side. And so no one really knows that something may be wrong. And maybe from whatever, you're just not great at communicating that, like yours truly. But to me, that idea of gilded age, where this period of a lot of growth personally, professionally, grief, loss, but finding a lot of great things in life at the same time. That was an important part of the story for me to tell, is reconciling these two versions of myself. One where life was happening and the things that had made me get through those moments as a younger person now weren't as effective, right? And I was having to learn and grow from that, because even the brightest light casts shadows. That's what some guy said in the song Reasons to Run. Anyway, if you've heard the album, you know that was on episode 7, I think. And again, like the fact that there's just space and it's this meditative piece is trying to allow someone to process what they've just listened to. You know, because there's a lot of moments that are sad, but they're really happy. And there's sounds that are happy, but are really kind of sad. And I think we accomplished a lot of that along the way, it weaving that in both directions on the record. The Gilded Age is, like I said, that breath of fresh air. And then you come out of that chorus, the system tries to break you, treat you like a page to turn. You got to break free and take pride in your long shots. And so whether it's about being an outsider, whether it's about being maybe a black sheep, or not really knowing how you fit in. You know, another way to think about this, I think when you're going through life and experiencing a lot of things for the first time, you assume, at least I did, incorrectly, that you're the only one that's gone through those things. That you're just so unique that like these feelings must be my own. And because everyone else is just getting by, you assume as a younger person that no one could possibly understand how you feel. And the truth is, we're all just trying to get by. And the system is whatever you want it to be. It's the job, the system, the government, whatever. It could be as big and broad as you want, and it is 2025 after all. So let it loom as large as you need to. But this idea that it treats you like a page to turn. So we talked about that last episode of Gardenia about how there are different seasons of life, and we can be a lot of different things before we find ourselves or return to ourselves. Through that journey, it can feel like you're just a cog in a machine, right? You can feel like a page to turn. But the last two lines of this verse are where I'm imploring the listener, you got to break free and run and take pride in your long shots, whether that's spiritually, whether that's physically. I'm all for it. I think it's just so important to find redemption on your terms, whether it's spiritually, whether it's creatively, whether it's romantically. Don't settle. This is your life. And it seems daunting to think that I've got X amount of time, right? But there's just something about that appeals to the underdog in me. Take pride in your long shots. Everybody loves a comeback, but no one gets the comeback if you don't get off the mat, if you don't try. And even if you're not successful, it's the story from that that's going to inform a lot. But we got to try. We got to try to break free. We got to try to find ourselves. We got to try to find what it is that is our purpose, that gives us fulfillment, that gives us place and a space, I think, in our world. And then it repeats with the second and third chorus, which is the same as the first one. I don't want to go back. Release me unto this page. Forgive this easy heart and my gilded age. And again, it's just the idea of like this benediction, this prayer of, I don't want to go back and be a younger person. I dropped out of high school. I don't want to go back to high school. I can't remember what movie that is, but like where you go back to high school and redo your life or whatever. I think more of like the butterfly effect. If one thing changes, too many of other things could also have changed that I don't think it would be worth the trade-off for me. I don't want to go back and be any other age. I've learned those things and I experienced those things and I want to experience new things. I don't want to try to live a different version of past self, if that makes sense. And while there is processing the grief, there is telling some of these stories from me being a younger person, I also want to be really clear with myself about being nostalgic. I think it's really easy as a songwriter to kind of like use nostalgia as a crutch. It's just, it's an easy thing to lean into. But for me, if I say something out loud, I'm much more likely to hold myself to it. So I don't want to go back. I don't want to be that younger version of Dylan. I like the current version of me. And if there's something I don't like about me, which is daily, I change those things. I try. And I think we all live through that period, right? Where we get through a period of our life or a season of our life where people think that it was great. And on the inside, it was not great for you. But that's what people thought. This most recent season and reconciling some of these bigger life themes for me, saying out loud, trying to hold myself accountable. I don't want to be nostalgic about my life. There's no such thing as glory days. If you haven't seen a friend in a while, to just start catching up and talking about the old friends and the things you used to do, I don't love that. Sure, it's great the first time. But to me, I want to live in a space, in a moment where I'm creating new memories. I'm forging new paths. And it's not that I don't appreciate, I'm very appreciative of my experiences. But I also don't want that to cast a shadow into the life that I still have ahead of me. And hopefully those new mistakes don't cast an even bigger shadow. Because at that point, maybe just more therapy is in order, besides another record. There is really nowhere else Gilded Age could have worked on the record. I think thematically, I think sonically, I just think it works as the last song. And it's not the last song we're going to talk about. It's the last song on the record. And in a way, what this brings to my mind is two things. I changed a lot making this record. I changed a lot from my last record to this record. We finished tracking for all intents and purposes last summer. I think the first weekend of July of 2024 is when we stopped tracking Late Bloomer in a Wallflower Suit. And I'd already made an appointment to meet with a trainer. This is just my story. But unbeknownst to a lot of people, I had set up a time with the trainer to meet virtually with him the weekend after that session. So I think the session actually ended on like Monday or Tuesday. That following weekend, I was going to meet with him. And I was just tired of feeling sick and tired. I was tired of feeling like lethargic and not the best version of myself. Because I had put a lot into the creative side of myself a good number of years, playing in the band that I was in, and Brilliant Mistakes, and then that became the Late Bloomer and Wallflower Suit. That was like a strong 5 to 6 year run of a couple times a week, playing shows, rehearsing, recording, writing. And I had let go of myself physically. I gained weight. A lot of people refer to like COVID, kind of like their freshman year in college, like they put on their COVID 10 or 20. Your boy put on a little bit more than that over a number of years. But just like I'm committing to telling you I'm anti-nostalgia because I'm trying to fight that crutch creatively. I'm also telling you that I put that on the calendar intentionally. Like, I couldn't really take more bandwidth-wise. I knew I was trying to wrap up the record in that last session. There's only so many funds, only so many shows that I was able to play and prepare to offset the expense of those sessions. But I tell you that I put that meeting on the calendar with the trainer because I knew I needed more balance in my life, that I didn't feel as great as I know I could have. So unbeknownst to almost everybody, because I didn't really broadcast this, I started working with a trainer. I started watching what I ate, and I worked really hard since last July about making my health a priority so I could be the best version of myself. It's not just creatively, even though I do love that. It's about how can I be the healthiest version of myself so I can enjoy my life as much as I can, so I can rock those 2-3 hour shows completely, beginning to end. But it was embarrassing having to start over with a trainer. It's embarrassing to have to start over musically. And people are like, well, why did you quit playing music for a couple of years? You have to explain, well, my dad died. I went through a divorce. I did this and this. Why did you gain weight? Well, I started eating my feelings and I love tacos and whatever. Why does, if somebody drinks too much, for example, and at least I haven't heard this. My dad was an alcoholic, but I've never heard somebody say like, why do you drink? Everybody knows why somebody drinks, right? But if somebody gets fat, they're like, why do you eat so much? It's like, I don't know. It tastes good. I love Indian food. And those things are all true. But I love life, and I wanted the ability to have as much of that in good health as possible. Because, again, you can only control what you can control. Things happen. And made that commitment, put that on the calendar with the trainer that the weekend after the last session of Late Bloomer, I was really going to focus on my health. I was still going to play shows. I was still going to write songs. I was going to do that. But I was going to be really intentional. I was working out a lot. You wouldn't believe it, but I worked out more before I started with the trainer than I did when I actually started with the trainer, who gave me like very specific like days and workouts. And he was really great about the nutrition stuff. I'm not here to do a fad. I don't want to take shots, which, no offense to those who do. If you do and that works great for you. Again, I'm not a doctor, so don't take any of it. Like, this is just what worked for me. But I've had people ask me like, well, how did you lose weight? Because I've lost a fair amount of weight. And it was being in a calorie deficit and moving and strength training. So I walked, I did my strength training, and I ate in a caloric deficit. And then once a week I would take pictures of myself and I would weigh myself, and then my trainer and I would talk about it. And I was fortunate to be in a situation where I could do that. And we've been working together for over a year. And the results have been crazy. And so when I say Late Bloomer and Wallflower Suit, I changed a lot. I changed a lot mentally, creatively, physically, from making the record to now. I hope when someone listens to the record, I hope that if you've never heard any of these podcasts and you've never seen me live, that the songs still sound great and you love them, and that they hold up on their own without all these crazy explanations. And if you hear those songs and you want to know more about your boy, that these stories have somewhat informed or shaped how you feel about the music or me as an artist. But I tell the story about investing my time, effort, energy into my health because it's something that no matter how old you are, if it sucks, right? I mean, it sucks. Like, oh, eat less. Oh, great. And I got to track my food. And you're busy. You're dropping the kids off, or you're in your high-paced career job. I don't have time to go to the gym X amount of times a week. I travel. I'm dating this person, they love eating out, and I don't want to I hope the example that I could be as creatively, personally, it's never too late to start over. It's never too late to be whatever version of yourself you want to be. And the truth in these situations is there's no shortcut. You don't just wake up and everything's different. What I found in my experience is you wake up and you make one decision at a time. I made the decision that music is an important part of my life and that my life did not have balance without it. I was still creative, but I needed that outlet again after a couple years. Just like being intentional about my health. I needed that outlet. I needed to be smarter about what I was eating. And it's not like I was depriving myself. And if you're somebody who's ever struggled with that, I feel you, because it's not like having a substance issue or something similar, because you still need to eat. If you want to kick alcohol, you can just stop. And maybe at work functions or social settings, you're not as fun to be around. Everyone is looking at you, wondering why you're no fun. That's not true. I don't drink hardly ever. And when people ask me why I don't drink, I just say, because I'm fun regardless. How much more fun do you need? But it's easy to look at someone make changes like I did and think they're really hard. And the hard part about the changes, it wasn't focusing on this big aspirational thing. One of the first things I told my trainers, I'm not going to have a goal. My goal is to wake up every day and have a decision to follow the plan. And if that ever gets to be too much, I'm going to focus and follow the meal I have in front of me, the workout I have in front of me, because that's all I can do. Because unlike someone with a substance, I can't just cut it out. I still got to eat. And I want to eat food that is wholesome and nurtures my body, and wholesome food. You know what I mean? Good stuff, not stuff out of a box necessarily. Now, if you want to eat stuff out of a box, that's great. A lot of chemicals, probably. But I digress. The example that I hope that someone can get that's decided to dive this deep is that it's never too late to change yourself, and it really happens one decision at a time. Whether you want to run a marathon, which I've done, or if you want to make an album, which I've done, or if you want to lose weight, which I've done, you can do that. And the common thread about doing big, tough things is not waking up and climbing a mountain every day. It's waking up and taking a step. And some days you'll be able to take a couple. And some days you're just going to have to stand firm. Some days you may have to take a half step back. But to do big things, you got to put yourself out there. I think it was a little daunting for my trainer at first when I was like, I don't have a goal. He wants me to be someone that stays around for a while. And if I don't have a goal and I'm just real loosey-goosey with it, I'm sure at first he was like, this isn't going to last very long. But here we are, 12 months or 14 or 15 months into it. And it's been great. It's been great. And I run faster than I've run in 20 years, 15 years. I'm not worried about how much I lift, but all that's going great. And if you're someone that's in that place, just know that I see you, and I know that's hard, and I know you probably feel some sort of combination of hopeless and like you don't know how you can make those changes in your life, and you're just not sure if you can, maybe somebody else can, or maybe if you do make all those changes and all those things do happen, you'll just gain the weight back. Let's worry about that when it happens, right? It would be no different than if you were single and we were talking about your love life, and I said, do you want to be in a committed relationship? And you go, oh, I would love to be in a committed relationship with someone, but I don't ever want to be hurt again, so I'm never going to be in a relationship. And that's the rules of the game, right? The odds that people gain weight back are high, no matter where on the spectrum you are, whether you're taking shots, whether you're doing a shake, whether you're doing keto, whether you're doing, Tybo. All I can do is make one decision at a time, one foot in front of the other, so I can be the best version of myself. And I'm still trying to be the best version of myself, still trying to write the best songs I can, still trying to put on really good shows, still trying to be healthy and do things that I enjoy, like running, which I know to most people seems crazy. But if you're in that funk, and we've all been there, if you are on the other side of this right now and you're listening and you've lost your job, we talked last episode, been there. And this is the awesome part. You get to dictate how the story goes. This is just the event. This is a mile marker, the highway, right? This is not a dead end. So you've lost the job. Now what? Now what do we want to do? Do you want to do something that fills your cup up? Do you want to start volunteering? Do you want to get a better job? All of it. You want to be a maximalist? Let's do it all. Great. You want to get in shape? Great. You want to write a book, but you owe it to yourself to be able to reckon with yourself. Not to allow yourself to think, well, the best version of me is 10 years ago. The best version of me is 20 years ago. And how do we know that's true? Because evidence tells us that. Whether it's Steve Jobs, he got fired by the board of his own company that he started. Right? You could take any example you want, but you get to determine what that next step is, and it's your life. It doesn't have to be this big thing. But if you're in a funk and you get home every day and you feel blue, start calling your friends. Start saying, hey, let's go get coffee. Hey, will you go to the gym with me? Hey, you keep saying that you started doing this thing on Friday nights. Can I go with you? It's a participation sport, right? I mean, life is, there's no champion at life. No one gets first place. You just got to keep showing up. And the beneficiary to that is yourself and the people that you care about and then the people that are around you. And so that's what Late Bloomer in a Wallflower Suit's about. It's not giving up on yourself, that you could still surprise a lot of people and come out with an album at 40 years old. That you can get in the best shape of your life at 40 years old. That you could meet the person of your dreams whenever. Like whatever that is to you, it's this life. This isn't just something for young people. You need to have dreams. You need to have something when you wake up every day that gets you up out of bed because you're excited that you get to go do that. And I'm passionate about that. And that's what the record means to me. It's not too late. And I want to awake that inside of people. And whether that's a physical example and focusing on that, whether it's a creative example, great. Whether it's a professional example, great. Romantic example, whatever. You deserve to have the life that you can, for as long as you can, for as good as it can be. Don't give up on yourself. And if today's too hard and today's not that foot forward day, that's okay. I had a lot of those. But you know what today is? It's just another day. Tomorrow's the day where you take another step forward. There's so many examples of people that find success on their own terms. I worked with this woman a couple jobs ago, and she was this really eclectic person. And one of the first times I met her, she told me, she's like, I'm looking for the love of my life. Now, she was older than me. She was probably about 15 or 20 years older than me. She's like, I'm looking for the love of my life. Still haven't found him. Now, she had kids and all this stuff, but she'd been divorced. And we worked together for like 7 years or 8 years. And there are times where it was almost like unreasonable how like active she was, like looking, like almost like, hey, why don't we just take a season off from looking for this love of your life? But she was so on fire about it. And I'm happy to report that she did meet the love of her life. And they post on social media like every day. And they're always together and they love each other. And she just retired. But, she found the love of her life at a different point than some people. It's just not high school. It's just not in your 20s. You change a lot. I don't know about you, but I got married to someone that I met when I was a teenager, and I changed a lot. They changed a lot. I'm sure you changed a lot. Are you the same person that you were when you were learning how to drive? God help us if you're not. But Late Bloomer in a Wallflower Suit, that's what it means to me. And those are the stories that were really important for me to tell because they meant a lot to me. And I thought that other people could maybe see themselves in that, and that maybe I could ignite that thing inside of you to be the best version of yourself. I really appreciate you listening to these podcasts about these songs. And there's going to be a couple more. Next week's going to be Laughing Heart. one of the unreleased songs on the record. I'm going to do another episode on that. For all intents and purposes, the song-by-song breakdown of the record is done. This podcast is going to change a little bit. It's going to be a little bit more in the moment. We're going to talk about current events and things that are actually happening to me now. But I wanted these episodes to be a little bit evergreen and tied just to the core album. I really appreciate you listening to these episodes and letting me unpack this with you. I've learned, even going back and listening to the episodes, there was things that just, because I didn't have a script on any of this, by the way, in case it wasn't obvious. This was just me riffing for 30 to 40 minutes every time. And I appreciate the space to do that. I appreciate your time. And I really hope that you go do something great now. So until next time, this has been the No Destination Podcast.